All right, I think the question is that how do you find these hackathon opportunities, and how do you find a way of making that bigger by making other people aware of it? And I've actually, how many of you guys have participated in a hackathon? Oh, only a few of us? Was yours a 24-hour one? Was yours like I did one this last year where I had to stay up 24 hours nonstop. A disaster. I ask you never to do that again, but how can we do this? How can we find a way of helping people find out more about hackathons? Or Scott, you want to tell us about the civic hacking that's going to be coming?
Well, yeah, there's a couple of clearinghouses I would look to. One is, if you've heard of Code for America, it's a national organization, and we now have what's called a brigade. It's a volunteer group here called codeforatlanta.org. It's a great website, great Twitter account, Code for Atlanta. They're a partner in the National Day of Civic Hacking, which is in partnership with TAG. So TAG does promote this National Day of Civic Hacking. Hypopotamus is a good resource for the city-wide stuff, but I would also look at Midtown Alliance with Midtown Buzz. They do a good job of promoting that out. And then I would look at like Hack for CF was something that Emory and Georgia Tech and other, Raj and I collaborated on. You look at the organizations around technology, and more than often than not you'll find, or universities and college, you'll find information on hacking. But I would say if you're going to just choose one, I'd go codeforatlanta.org, because they're actively promoting other people's hackathons for you.
Code for America?
Code for Atlanta.org locally for that information.
Why are these hackathons, why do they have to be these 24-hour experiences? Is there some value from having this kind of compressed time frame for how they operate? Raj?
I think I'll let Scott answer that.
All right, so I saw it best explained by a fellow from Google Ventures, actually from the Google, Google X, where they found that the best ideas came from rapid iteration, right? So you get 10 minutes to go and build something fast out of popsicle sticks, see if it works. And then now, what do you learn from it? Now, here's your feedback loop, and here's how you can make it better. Now make it better. And so you're just consistently doing rapid iteration, and that's if you go to a hackathon, whether it be a traditional hackathon or a civic hackathon, there's always check-ins. You have to go and check in and pitch, here's where we are with things, and you get feedback from the rest of the group. So there might be 10 different groups, 10 different projects going on, but you're all iterating on something, getting feedback from those in the room, but also putting it out on the internet and going out into the field to ask questions as well. So the idea is you're not going to solve, like Raj said, the insight he got was, you're not going to solve it, but you're certainly going to come up with the germ of the idea that can come with it, but you have to put constraints, because the neuroscience that shows that we only pay attention to the very beginning and the very end. So now that you're going to listen to the very end of my answer, you missed all the middle of it, but you saw the first of it. So we have to have starts and stops to keep people's attention, plain and simple.
Laurie?
Yeah, I just want to add, for those who have been in a hackathon or those who have heard about a hackathon, one of the downsides of hackathons is you have 24 hours or 48 hours, and at the end of that, you have a concept. And one of the challenges for the community is to what do you do then? There's part of an overlay where you have lots of hackathons going on in Atlanta, and there's a bit of a hack community, and people will take and refine that idea at the next hackathon, the next one, and build on it. But part of what we want to do, Midtown Alliance wants to do, and hopefully we can encourage others in the community, is to start taking those ideas that are coming out of that. And in some cases, like the CF challenge, is yes, we want to move this forward. So let's use this as an idea generation period. But then that's not the end. So after that 24 hours, that 48 hours, that's really the beginning of then saying, okay, you really need, if you're going to launch this, you need to code it, and you need to test it, and you need to try it. There's a whole lot more. And there's a great infrastructure in Atlanta for helping talent at any level to decide is this an idea, is this a product? Is this a product, or is this a business? Is this a business, is this a company? And so we as a community need to help pull these things out of the hackathons and identify some of these leads and push them forward.
But let's not mistake the fact that hackathons are actually setting up there to create businesses or create actual solutions. What their intent is to create is to teach people a way of thinking, and it's a new way of approaching problems. And so it's you see it's the ground floor of the rainforest where there's a lot of species that are coming up, and only some are going to make it into the big canopy tree. So the hackathons is an approach, a methodology of giving people a way to experience rapid iteration, time constraints, and coming from that. As a community, our interest is, okay, now how do we make sure that the great ideas that pop up in here can actually then get incubated and grown into something bigger?
Other questions? Well, Shook, you had a question, didn't you? As a matter of fact, I know your question so well, I'll ask it for you. How's that work, all right? I'll repeat your question before you ask it. What about privacy? What do we have to worry about? Is hacking be dangerous? Do we need to worry, Raj, you gotta answer this question. You're getting a major government organization that hands you a huge data set. Are you ever worried about how that might be used and whether it could be used in an improper way?
Yeah, so with the 911 center, for example, we actually had to jump through a lot of hoops for that because there are a lot of legal regulations and stuff, and this is the first time they're giving their data to anybody. The data will be completely anonymized, so what we're not going to be getting any private identifiable information. What we're getting is just aggregates and we're getting the location and all of that, but not like personal information that's going to be anonymized. So usually there are always, it takes more work, even for the CF hack, for instance.
CF?
Cystic fibrosis.
Cystic fibrosis.
So when did you do this? In October? Yeah. In October 2013, several groups in Atlanta collaborated for a hackathon for cystic fibrosis, where we received a data set from Emory Hospital and worked on basically cystic fibrosis data to find interesting patterns or to solve different problems related to cystic fibrosis. So even that data was anonymized. We wanted to get a much larger data set from the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, which has the data for every cystic fibrosis patient nationally. However, that data could not be anonymized in time. It was a much larger data set, so we could not work with it. So we have very serious, we take privacy very seriously with these hackathons. So we can't work with data unless it is in a state where it can be public.
Were you going to say something, right?
No, I was actually going to ask a question.
You're more than welcome to ask this question.
Because I'm sitting here listening to this, and it's kind of been directed at us. If you look at the concepts of civic hacking and what the intent of it really is, the question I have to the rest of the panel, and actually to a lot of the people out there, where are areas that you see that you can provide value, do something that actually fits into the civic hacking paradigm? Well,
give us an area.
Give us examples.
Is it health? Is it government? Is it
energy?
Energy.
Energy, yeah.
There you go.
What are other ones?
Well, I can talk about a couple of the other projects that Data Science and Social Good is doing. So besides the 911 project, there is a project with Cycle Atlanta just extending their application for bike lanes, so that's a transportation project. So alternative transportation, whether it's MARTA or cycles or other kind of bicycling or other kinds of things, great resource or place to make a difference. We're doing another project with a non-profit called Truly Living Well. They do sustainable urban agriculture. So what they're trying to do is connect urban agriculture, urban food producers with customers. And they connect a lot of data around urban food systems. Again, the Atlanta Food Bank, great resource for collecting data. I think I heard a statistic that they move like 40 million pounds of food a year, something like that, and they have all these logistical problems around that can be solved with data. So food systems. Another project within Georgia Tech, they want to use Wi-Fi usage patterns to estimate occupancy of a building and thereby figure out energy usage and optimize that. So that's a very interesting combination of technology, wireless, and energy, all kinds of things. So you can see that there's so many different applications.
Well, but where are the ones that we haven't started to get to? Are there places where you guys can think that there is a real need for that? For instance, do we believe that transportation has had enough done, or do we need to do more of transportation? And then I'm asking this as a group, and health, is that an area that we think is going to be the biggest part? So where are the biggest things that we need to do more of in the future, not what we've already done? What do you guys think that would be?
Health is definitely one. The Cystic Fibrosis Hackathon we did in October was the first ever one of its kind. And there are so many other data sets out there in hospitals or other non-profit organizations around that, whether pretty much any disease you can think of has data collected around it. There are a lot of legal issues and privacy issues around those, which is why the data has to remain siloed. But if we can work through those issues with those organizations, though all that data can be amazing if you set it loose and let people attack it.
Well, all right, let's talk about this. Let's talk about platform opportunities too. We're all wireless, we're all mobile geeks. We all care about mobile in a different way. Does mobile offer a greater opportunity for civic hacking than other technologies we're looking at? Is this a special area where we need to do more of through mobile? Roger, AT&T clearly is motivated by the mobile factor there.
I think the mobile provides a whole new set of opportunities to leverage things that traditionally were not mobile. One of the things I keep looking at as we do this is the blending of your traditional sensors in the street with a mobile service. Because I'm always looking for what's next. There's a lot of stuff we've done. What's next? What's the stuff we should be doing? What is the stuff that irritates us? And I always look for what irritates you, because that now becomes something that you can go solve. So I look at things like transportation. Is there a way for us to kind of create something where I know what the traffic patterns are as I'm coming into my neighborhood? Is there something that we could look at and say, okay, well, how can we monitor areas around our parks better for our children? What are the areas that either bother us, upset us, concern us? What are the next things that we can take advantage of? And there's a lot of them.
Well, how about mobile in the Midtown bus? There's the mobile innovation component of that, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's almost, I'd say the preponderance of what we're doing is in mobile, but we're also tying physical with mobile and digital. So if you're doing a historic tour of Midtown, you could walk it, you could see signs that give you a sense to what it is. You could jump on your cell phone and get an enhanced version, maybe you see an augmented reality experience. But if you're sitting at your house and you're in the West Coast, you want to come to Atlanta, you also want to give them an opportunity to see that as well. So there's some pull through, but I think mobile offers a whole lot of enrichment in the experience by putting you into the situation, and also a lot of information that comes back into this infrastructure that you leverage in other ways.
Two things, Scott. First off, life is suffering, so there's always problems, and there's persistent problems, and there's a lot of problems that don't have a market for it. So we're going to need to find different ways to solve those problems. So, and then two is, mobile is your best bet at reaching the most people. And it can help leapfrog a lot of other things. It doesn't have to be smartphone mobile. I mean, SMS has got a tremendous amount of impact around the world. I worked with the United Nations, the UNICEF team, and doing a catalog of where their social media and digital media was, and I got to meet their innovation team. And they created an open SMS, which they were utilizing to teach folks who were in rural Africa how to read. Because in order to use SMS, you had to read. So they were able to use SMS phones for people who wouldn't see another person for 400 miles and be able to interact with people and actually be able to learn, become literate, which then changes the game.
All right, we had a question back here. I want to make sure we get it. The question is, there seems to be a role that government should have in this. A lot of what we're doing, we're touching on things that government has done for us. I think what you're asking is, how do we motivate the government more? How are we working with the government? And aren't we doing things through this volunteer thing that we should expect our government to do? Is that right? That was it?
Well, government, a corporation, they're people organizations, right? And I can speak to this on the federal level and down to the city level. So participated on some federal Health 2.0 hackathons and its rapid iteration and seeing open data, big data kind of plays there. You're seeing federal agencies, different federal agencies. I was part of a conference using how to use crowd campaigns or gamification to create civic engagement. You're also, not only on the federal level, seeing federal agencies utilizing this methodology as a way to engage the citizenry directly, not working through third parties or other parties. And then the city, we helped pull together something called Govathon, which is a hackathon for the city. And there's been 3 Govathons so far. The most recent one was a transportation one held at Georgia Tech. The first 2 was held at the old city council chambers down at City Hall. And it was fascinating to see in 15 hours, basically 15 hours of work, we had maybe 20-some different projects get built. And it was funny watching on the front end, city council and city government officials were very skeptical. But fortunately, Eloisa Clementich, who's now Invest Atlanta's head, she was able to wrangle a lot of people to say, yes, I'll offer up a problem set. And you got to see the shift from these individuals asking, why are we budgeting money for food? It's like we're actually giving away food for the weekend. We don't understand why we're doing this. To at the end, the skeptical of why were they feeding young technology workers when they could probably feed themselves. To the end of it going, God, we should do this again because look at how many problems we have solutions for now that got created in 15 hours? Have you ever gone through an RFP process on the government level? It is.
It's longer than 15 hours, isn't it?
It's 15 years, it seems like, to get through some of that stuff. So it was, so the good thing is, good news is, yes, government at all levels is starting to engage in this, but it's like any calcified entity, any calcified bureaucracy. There's pockets of awesomeness. It's now we just need to help cultivate that awesomeness.
All right, we've got to move kind of quickly here because we've only got a couple more minutes, so go to Raj.
Yeah, so during organizing DSSG, Data Science for Social Good, and getting this 911 project going, I completely agree with Scott. I would say there's no such thing as big government. You find the right people there and you can make things happen.
Okay, so I'll be the opposite side of this discussion. You want to get something never done, give it to the government. The value proposition of social hacking is you now have responsibility for yourself. You can make changes. You don't have to ask for anybody's permission. You're basically telling the government, go do the things that you should be responsible for and stay out of my life. I will take care of the rest of the stuff. And I think that is the value of social hacking. It is putting the power in your hands to positively change your environment. If you're waiting on the government to do it, they may do it. It will cost you. It will cost you 40 times what it would do anywhere else. This is putting the power, control, and opportunities in your hands to get things accomplished at the speed you need to get accomplished at.
All right, here's the last question I'll ask each one of our panelists, all right? This is something that we're committed to. First of all, do you think Atlanta is a hotbed for social hacking? Or is there something about Atlanta which makes this really an appealing market for civic and social hacking? Is Atlanta different than everywhere else? How about, Raj, how is it different than what happened in Chicago?
Atlanta does have a lot of challenges that makes it a hotbed, or at least attractive.
What, they have a lot of challenges?
Yes.
So because things are messed up, there's an opportunity to fix more things?
Yeah, that's partly, one reason. If there are challenges, there are people to work on them, and there's opportunity.
All right, is this a good place, Scott?
Yeah, so I lived in Boston for a couple of years, and Boston, Cambridge has been doing a lot of good things up there. San Francisco, Oakland, certainly cities that are doing well. I mean, the Bay Area is, but those are where the technology hotbeds are anyway. When I moved here, I was very pleasantly surprised to see how much of a civic hacking community there was. Terry Allen and Mathilde Piard and others had been doing random hacks of kindness for a number of years, and then all of a sudden Govathon popped up, and then Code for Atlanta and Code for America popped up, and we're seeing a steady drumbeat of people utilizing this methodology. Having Hack for CF was a great win, because you're bringing a guy who's world-renowned for CF research, and he's saying, we need to use this methodology. So we have unique problems for sure, but we also have a tremendous amount of talent sitting right here, and corporations that are saying we need to get involved with it. So obviously I'm a homer here now that I'm in Atlanta, but I'm here for a reason. I'm here because there is a culture that supports this, and I think Atlanta is probably, is definitely in the top 10 of cities in the country utilizing civic hacking, and will only become better because now we have this Code for Atlanta brigade.
Yeah, I tend to totally agree. I think it's early days, even though it's a long tail ramping up to this. There's been a lot of positive feedback and network effects. More and more people are getting involved. Lots of problems, lots of smart folks, lots of universities, a deep, rich pool, and now giving those who are interested a way to express themselves and have all these different hackathons, let them play and join the community. It helps build on it. So I think we're early on, but I have high hopes for Atlanta.
All right, Roger, what do you think?
Oh, I absolutely believe we are. I was here in the late 90s. I'm actually here by choice. This is where I want to be. I came here in the late 90s when we were a hotbed of technology. We had more startups here than we had in California. We can be there again very, very easily. We need to start moving that direction, and to Scott and everybody else's point, we have an extremely bright, talented, motivated society here. It's now focusing them in the direction. That's why I keep saying, what's next? What do we need to be focusing on? We've done a lot of things in the past. Those are nice. What's next? And start to focus on those. You ask people to get involved, they will get involved and we'll do some amazing things.
Great. All right, I want to thank our panelists for sharing their ideas.